What's up, man? How you been?
Oh man, it is. We're back to the fucking Canadian campfire. Another
I
AQI today of like 202
I
in
do
here.
not want to go outside anymore.
I know. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't. When I was a kid, I didn't. I'll bet you if you asked 10,000 people what AQI is,
No one knew. No one knew.
15 of them might know have a vague idea. 10
Yeah,
of them
and
would've
those
guessed
15
wrong.
are meteorologists.
Yeah, and like 8 of them would have guessed wrong. Like, it would have been like,
Something to do with water?
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and now it's like it's fucking everywhere.
Everywhere.
In California, a lot of my friends like have the AQI thing like on their phone. It's like part of their morning like.
Well, but you know what? And I think this is what is so revealing about the country, right? Like California, it's like they got wildfires every fucking week.
Every 5 minutes.
And we're like, what does that even mean? And
Sure.
now we're like, oh, you mean you can't breathe and you don't want to go outside?
Right.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
in general, I don't want to complain too loudly, especially around my California friends.
Yeah. Well,
But,
very true. Very true.
But at the same time, I'm kind of like, it kind of sucks.
Well, Chicago just posted that they have the worst air quality in the world right now.
I guess we're swapping cities. New York had that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And it's funny because we had some rain. I'm like, oh, good, that'll help. I literally just had a patient get back from Quebec City, and she was like, "You might as well have been in Mexico City at its worst height of pollution."
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just nothing. She said, "Oh, we got rain. I thought the next day would be a little bit better. It wasn't."
Nope. Oh man. Well, that is unfortunate to say the least.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah, so that's been fun. It had been 5 minutes of breathing clearly after I took a course of Z-Pak for a sinus infection.
Yeah, because you didn't have the sinus infection. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And I was like, oh, look, finally, my car's not covered in pollen.
Oh my God. My driveway's under 2 trees, huge trees. It's aggressive.
Look, man, talk about first world problems. Oh, yeah. It's almost July, and I still haven't been able to get the amount of pollen that, the pool shock just sinks it all to the bottom. I've had to empty, when you vacuum, I'm not vacuuming it through the filter. Sure. I have to waste it and refill the pool. It's like so freaking wasteful, and it's still not clear.
And it's still not clear.
Still not clear.
Still,
and
not
I decided to invite people over for the 4th of July.
Well, that's the best way to get shit done now.
Yeah. I guess I'll be out there vacuuming with a headlamp on.
I told Sarah, we'll muddle through unpacking boxes and building furniture and kind of getting the house back to normal from construction. And then right before the kids go back to school and I'm sick and tired of it, I'm just going to invite people over for a weekend stay and be like, well, fuck it. There you have it. We got to get it done.
You know what? There's nothing more motivating than being like, mom and dad are coming. Fuck, we got to vacuum.
Yeah, right. We got shit to do, people.
Why? Because back in their generation.
Yeah, right. People gave a shit.
You had laundry done and things folded.
Oh man, yeah. I'm. My parents actually, now that you mention it, are coming in August. So it looks like I've already done that. I forgot.
You've already tied yourself in, man.
I've already tied myself in, which is good, man. Let's just get her done, man. Get her done.
I feel like, and I don't know if you've noticed this, and I know you're busting your hump at work and everything too, but I feel like we're just moving faster and faster towards obsolescence almost.
Oh yeah.
We talk about AI every week, and I'm like, oh, it's coming from my field. Great. It's like, okay, cool. Can I not do stuff?
So actually, that's an interesting segue into what we're going to chat about tonight. Because
why not?
Well, we've talked about this a million times. Everybody's talked about this a million times, and I feel almost like the anti-cigarette lobby in 19s.
I got you.
Kind of how many fucking times do we have to say this out loud before you actually realize?
But it is the craziest thing, because I think both you and I'm cool, I can be lazy. And you're like, you don't understand how amazing this technology is. And we've got this other arm of people that are like, it's going to destroy everything. And I'm like,
oh no, absolutely.
Look, man, it will, but it's not going to be Terminator. It's just going to be life as we know it will be fundamentally altered. And
well, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's already happened, and
it's
we're just
already happened. The cat, the cat's out of the bag, the horse is out of the barn, whatever expression you want to use.
Right. So, but like, so here's where I'm confused. So an article came out recently, and it was published last month, and it came out that basically said that the Cliff's Notes is, it said loneliness is the new smoking. And
the second you told me this topic,
yeah,
I was like, comrade, Brittany has been right all along.
Yeah.
My loneliness is killing me.
But I'm telling you, this is like the weirdest thing, right? Because like, and look, I'm not trying to discount you, but to set the stage for what I want to hear.
I'm not saying you're discounting me. I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm saying like, let's throw out the variables here, right? This has it is a thing. Because
it's definitely a thing.
It has reached a level where it's no longer ignorable, right? So all those people that are like, remember how I said smoking was bad for you 500 million times? Well, somebody's finally paying attention. However, given the news cycle, I'm sure this is going to last a minute. And
well, yeah, until people start dropping dead, no one's going to blink an eye, unfortunately.
Right. But see, that's the thing. People are already dying left and right. Suicide rates are through the roof, right? Like, and so,
something, and this is, mentioning, the AI problem, if you want to call it a problem. This is the same thing where it's like, we were suspect of this. We knew this could be a thing. With the isolation of COVID and everything, we knew things could get worse. But we all just kind of kept going without kind of looking back at any of this.
Right. Well, and that's so this is the stage I was trying to set, and you're kind of.
I'm sorry, man.
No. You're right on it. I just want to get this out so that we're on the same page.
You got it.
We have every reason in the world to not be lonely, and yet we're more lonely than ever.
Well, yeah, and that's the crazy thing. I think about how many ways you and I are fucking talking over an internet connection.
Right. Now, look, honestly, I enjoy hanging out with you in person quite a bit more than I do hanging out with you online. But at the same time, this is the medium that we get to see each other the most in. So like, it's kind of like but here's, I guess, my starting argument is just like everything else we've talked about, right? It is just like absolutely everything else in life.
Yeah.
The only way to affect change for positive is to take an active participatory role in crafting this road. And if loneliness is a factor, whether you've experienced it yourself or you think you will, or things got dark or whatever led you to that, like, it's just like, I mean, you know how easy it is to be fat? We should. 3 out of 4 of Americans are fucking obese. So like, we basically, so we know very well how easy it is to be fat.
Well, we're really good at creating the problem.
Correct. And so
we're really good at that. Weight?
You go, you get absolutely fucking possessed by a combination of exercise, diet, nutrition, supplements, health, whatever.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, right? You don't want to oversimplify it, and everyone's health journey is going to be a little bit different, but calories in, less than calories out is a general template for that, right?
Sure.
And then and Matt, I don't think I'm going to step back to this loneliness thing, because I don't think we quantified the metrics enough here to say like, no, this is a real thing. The figure that they're giving is it's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day, right?
Which is a lot.
And that is a lot. That's almost a pack. And, this is not from like some fly-by-night little pilot study. This was a meta-analysis that had over 300,000 participants.
It was a lot. Yeah, exactly.
It was a lot of people over 7.5 years.
So this is not like, and what, it was funny because the article said that this stuff's been going back to 2010, and the article came and went and nobody gave a shit. And that's exactly what we're saying, right? Like, it was like, okay, but here's the thing. Like, look, I've been very open with this with my kids and everybody else. I fucking loved smoking cigarettes. Loved it. absolutely.
Well, I mean, how would you not? I mean, it's a fucking dopamine stick.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But here's the thing: it's
calming. It's a rush. It's fucking horrible. But
it's terrible for your body. So you know what? I don't smoke anymore, right? So, but I it takes an act of volition to not smoke, right? Like, so in order to take control of that piece of my destiny, the only option I had was be stronger than the urges to smoke. That's it. That's there is no other answer, right? Like, that's not. And here's the problem. Loneliness, from my interpretation anyway, is just another iteration of quitting smoking, quitting drinking, quitting gambling, it is quitting social media. Because the fact of the matter is you don't have to be lonely. You can create situations that decrease your likelihood. Now, that's not to say you won't still end up, but if you sit in your house 27 days a week and don't go anywhere, your chances of loneliness are probably pretty high, right? If you got on a 2-hour phone call a day with somebody, your chances probably go down a little bit, but just like you and I hanging out in person isn't quite the same as this. Like, eventually that'd probably wear you down. And I think that did. We all played. I mean, I don't know about you, but did you ever play any virtual poker during fucking COVID?
No, look, I used most of the shutdown when I wasn't working to basically restore myself. I was like, no, I'm going to go into hibernation mode. I'm going to get some stuff done that I didn't get to do. And like, even because we were on a couple of happy hours and stuff together, and it was like, all right, it's nice seeing everyone, but I'm seeing you all through this little square on my laptop.
Which I've statistically spent all day at anyway, and I'm sick of interpreting the world through a 12-inch laptop. You know what I mean? Like, it's... But here's the thing. I absolutely empathize with loneliness. I struggle with that a lot from, in various stages of my life. But you know what?
Especially being an entrepreneur, man. Sure. Unless somebody else is an entrepreneur, you don't have that connection with them.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's like, well, no, I got to deal with these problems. Even if we sit there and empathize with each other,
right? Right, and yeah, exactly. I got to get back to it. I mean, actually, one of the reasons why I actually it kind of shifted my my coaching situation was I needed to stop looking at my life through a theoretical lens and saying, well, if you did this or if you did that, and there's a whole lot of, fortune cookie wisdom and, self-help guru wisdom and, blah, blah, blah. There's no shortage of solutions.
And some of it's great and some of it's being restated 20 different ways so the right person can hear it. And it's not all bad, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's not bad at all. But eventually you gotta stop looking at the poster of the cat hanging
onto the tree. Yeah.
And you got to stop looking at the poster and walk outside and actually hang on. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta eventually convert that to practice. And I think that's where I think this is no different. Right. And again, I know everybody's journey is different. I'm not trying to lump everyone together, but the fucking shitty reality is there's a couple things that we are all very similar at. If you're fat, you got to stop eating and do more exercise. Blanketly speaking, that's never going to make you gain weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now, it could take you 6 months and me 6 years, but that's not really what that is saying, right? What you're saying is you got to wake up every morning and say, today I'm going to eat less than I exercise, or I'm going to eat a rational amount and I'm going to do a rational amount of exercise. I got a friend who recently has refound working out.
Okay.
And I
thought you were going to say Jesus. I thought that was going to go in a real different.
No. That definitely not. But he found exercise again, and God bless him. And I got another friend who sort of did the same thing, right? And they started texting one another. And they start getting into it. Now they're like, oh, let's do 2-a-days. And I'm like, why? Are you a fucking elite athlete, or are you looking to make the Olympic cut? On what plane of existence do you need to put your body through the physical turmoil or potential for injury by doing workouts twice a day? Unless you're getting paid for it.
Or unless that is your field, right? If you own a gym or something, yeah, have at it.
Right.
You should be the fittest person in that place, you know?
And I guess why I bring those guys up is like, I don't think we should run out and solve our problems like this. This to me feels like a grotesque misinterpretation of the problem itself and an overreaction to how to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Like this does not feel rational to me, right?
I also feel like we're the solution, how do I say this, has to be a multifaceted approach. You can't just go deep down one rabbit hole, right? Like, let's look at how my body is dealing with inflammatory markers. Let's see how my body deals with these foods specifically. Let's see if my thyroid's okay, you know, and check everything rather than just, hey, we're going to dump it all into, like, I'm just going to exercise like a fucking beast.
Right. And so like one of the guys in that mix, he went out and got bombarded with Facebook ads about cold plunge. He can't.
Hey man, I just ran one. Yeah, you know,
he can't afford 15 grand for an at home one. So he did what you and I were talking about. Go get a fucking bucket and fill it with ice and jump it. You know, like it's,
you know, look, man, if you got to throw in an ice maker in your house, you're still probably doing pretty good. You know,
right? Oh no, absolutely. But here's my point though. I would be willing to bet that if I sat him down and I was like, hey, talk me through the metabolic effects of cold thermogenesis, like he would be like, huh?
What?
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like he just is like, oh, Facebook told me to jump in a cold bucket of water and that's what I'm going to do. And Facebook told me that it's going to cure cancer. It's going to make me live forever and I'm going to lose all this weight and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so all those things feel like they are founded with the degree, at least one degree of truth. But like, in some cases, I mean, I don't know. Personally, my journey in life is I want to know why you're telling me these things so that I could make a determination of, look, is it even worth putting ice in a bucket? I know it's a lot cheaper than a $15,000, UV sterilized, ozone sterilized unit. But if it's not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then save up for the $15,000 because that's the one that's going to work. Or if the bucket of ice works fine, do that and don't spend the 15 grand. But either way, know what you're fucking talking about before you just blindly just jump in and start diving in, and look, I'm not shitting on him. He's lost a ton of weight. He's done a lot of body recomp. I mean, it looks great, but like doing 2-a-day workouts, jumping in cold plunges with whatever education he's got at hand, and stop drinking, stop smoking weed, stop doing everything. Now, all of these things are great. I love it. I love that he's getting healthy. But it's my impression that he can't actually be healthy without doing all of those things at that level. Like, I feel like for him, it's like sort of an all or nothing. And I think that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't look at problems like this and be like, all right,
here's the box that fixes all that.
In order to quit smoking, I have to move to Maine because the air quality is better. And I have to like pine bathe every morning to get, pinene in my lungs and open up my bronchial tube. I could just still live in Manhattan and just not smoke cigarettes. Like that's also
valid. Yeah.
Is it as clean as Vermont? Probably not. But does it really fucking matter? Like if you're trying to quit smoking, then just look at that as the objective. And the loneliness thing, like, it sends kind of the same vibe because like, how do you solve loneliness? I think it's just be more of a human.
Yeah.
Right. Like
interact. Well, it was funny. I forgot what quote. I got to find it, but I believe it was somebody either Nikola Tesla or something. And they were talking about like the greatest crime is like losing that humanity. It was worded much more eloquently, but there is something to us. One, this whole, even biohacking, even human optimization, it's like, well, you're still human and sure. You need to acknowledge that. Right. So maybe we go too far in that direction or something, but yeah, dumping all in one method to kind of solve the problem is, I don't think that's so good, but the loneliness is going to get you too. I mean, that's,
but I bust on my kids.
Kind of rambling there. Sorry, man.
No. I bust on my kids all the time, right? Like I'm like, you guys spend too much time on your phones. But when I read this article, I started kind of like, my first reaction, candidly, was like, oh shit, I got to get my kids off fucking social media altogether. We got to just fucking burn the phones. And I was literally doing what I just said I shouldn't do. And
well, it's weird because we have the word social in it. So there is some interaction, right? There is an exchange. But how much of that is getting you what you need?
I notice what my kids do with it though, and how they do it. And I think it's different because I'm in this business and I really champion like anti-social media, for the kids and all that stuff. But my wife doesn't, and they definitely don't. So like, I'm kind of the odd man out when it comes to using the phone. I'm really against it. Everybody else is like not, but here's what I did notice as a result of me being so against it and my wife not at all being against it. Where my kids will do is they'll go on and they can sit on there for hours if we let them, but they'll sit on there and then Cooper will use social media, he'll use Snapchat to find the location of all of his friends and then reach out to them either in a group or one-on-one and say, hey, I noticed that you're nearby. You want to do something, whatever. And then he'll be gone for 4 hours, or 3 hours or 2 hours or an hour or whatever he is. But he goes out. He uses this loneliness generator to create an opportunity to reverse it, and then comes back and we'll get back on it, and then we'll jump off and watch like a movie or a show or hang out with us. And so it's like they can kind of vacillate in and out of this spectrum. But here's the thing, like it's a combination of us forcing that upon them, and honestly I think they also recognize the value of being like, no, you know what? I've been on this for a minute. I gotta go outside.
Well, that's great because I'll admit, if we let my kids on it, that's it. Like see ya whenever we see ya.
Yeah. No, if we don't stop it, that's exactly how they are. Don't be crazy. I mean, they're, if we don't go up there and be like, phones down right now, we actually make them keep their phones downstairs, 2 stories below where they sleep. Because I'm like, I don't, first of all, my son's a teenager. I don't know what he's doing up there. I don't need.
You certainly don't want to. You don't want to find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right. And second of all, like, you don't need to be going to bed. The last thing you see and the first thing you see shouldn't be technology. You know what I mean? Like that just. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, if I'm prone to loneliness, right, and I make a life where the last thing I do before I go to bed is doom scroll my fucking Facebook feed, just to find out how beautiful and perfect everyone else's
highlight reel is,
and how shitty my life is, like then I'm not doing myself any favors. Like I'm not setting myself up for success. That's like going on your 30-day sober day, get your chip, and then go head out to a bar. You're like
let's go celebrate.
Yeah, like that's not helpful. Like that's not going to help anybody, And so, but here's the thing: when you look at somebody and you say, "Hey, man, let's go buy a pack of Marlboro Lights and split it," what do you say? What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
why would I ever do that?
I would never do that. Right? Cool. All right, let's pull out our phones and let's just take an hour to ourselves, and we'll just sit here 5 feet apart from each other and just look at our socials for 4 hours. Nobody would think that was weird. Not one person. Or not even stating it, but let's just say you just let it happen. You and I are in a room. I see you. You're on your phone. I'm like, yeah, no, what? Fuck it. I'm going to get on my phone.
Yeah, just for a couple, and then, when 2 hours go by.
And then 2 hours goes by and you're like, oh, look, here I am in the room with this person. Now, how attached do I feel to you at the end of that 2 hour time? Nothing. I haven't even looked at you. You haven't even crossed my mind.
You did not exist in my world.
I forgot you were even in the room. Like, like it's like, you're not here. But so that's the part where I don't know what the right answer is, because like, unless you teach people to take responsibility for that piece and recognize that like, hey, look, I can go to a bar and have a beer the same way as I could have 15 beers. The only difference is, what am I doing to rationalize the behavior? One, am I a 15 beer is okay kind of guy? Maybe. Okay. So if I'm that guy, then, the next morning when I'm hungover and feel like a train rolled over me, I'm like, I shouldn't really be that shocked, right? Like, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, you should be like, yeah, that was going to happen.
That makes absolute perfect sense given my behavior, right? Like, that is not illogical. Oh my God, I don't know why Johnny is so lonely. Well, Johnny's on the fucking phone 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Why are you confused by this? Like, I mean, this is
this is not rocket science.
And then parents are the funniest because I got teenage kids and I'm friends with almost exclusively with other people with teenage kids.
Yeah.
And
that's how that happens.
And most of them are like, I can't believe so and so. I'm like, how do you not believe that? Like, in fact, I'm actually fucking alarmed it didn't happen earlier. You know, there's a couple kids that have some behavioral issues and some mental health issues. And I'm like, we've known this forever. And we just keep, it's funny, I found this the other day cleaning out a hard drive. I think it was 98. It was either 98 or 97. I was interviewed on a local TV station in Hartford, Connecticut about loneliness in the graphic design lab, in the computer lab, because I was spending a lot of time in there. And they came by, and graphic designers, this was before everybody had, what would have been a $50,000 computer in 1998, in there. I've got 6 of them now in the house, and just like, it's like I'm using MacBook Pros as coasters these days because like they're just, it sounds stupid, but it's like, it gets too slow to use for work. And like, I don't know, I'm stupid. I'm like, well, I'll use it for something. And I mean, now I've got so many of them, it doesn't matter. But you didn't have that back then, right? And so like going to the lab was the only way you can actually get on Photoshop with a computer that actually meant anything.
Had the ability to, yeah.
So they went and interviewed a bunch of people. That was fucking 25 years ago. They asked me the question. I didn't know, first of all, when I was interviewed, I didn't know what I was getting interviewed for. And they asked me and I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm definitely isolated from my friends because I'm here 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. Like, for senior portfolio, I didn't leave that lab except to pee and grab food for a week.
I can see that.
Didn't breathe outside air. That's not true. I had a cigarette every 20 minutes.
Yeah. And at that point, you didn't even know you were using it for the neurokinetic effects.
No, I know. Exactly. That's what's funny crazy, about art school. So many things we got right and we didn't know, like LSD, nicotine, caffeine. Yeah.
It is so crazy to think of that artist, all in black, and then if they were like from the 50s, it's going to be a beret, but they were smoking and drinking coffee 24/7.
Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, these artists, they just do that. I'm like, yeah, because that shit's amazing.
Because that shit makes them think better.
Yeah, this shit really wakes you up. Your brain mentally. I mean, caffeine is still one of my favorite nootropics, like, because it gives you a little pop, but like, it also makes me think clearly. That's why I'm like all in.
This is an aside, but God, why can't I think his name? How to Change Your Mind. Michael Pollan. He did a 2-hour-long caffeine ebook on Amazon.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's great. Look, if you're going to go on a road trip, you want to break it up,
sure.
On a commute, it's a great little read, or listen, and he talks about specifically how caffeine kind of escaped the stigma because it's always been socially acceptable. It's always been readily available. And we don't see a long-term health effect from it, right? There's nothing glaring. Like we know cigarettes. Yeah, you're probably going to get lung cancer.
Sure.
But caffeine, it's like, don't drink 3 pots a day and you might be all right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, right. Like, don't like drink, Yeah. If you're drinking a pot of coffee a day, that's the same thing as like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, right? I don't think anyone's ever done this study, but I'm wondering how bad for you are cigarettes if you had 1 cigarette a day, or
and I mean, like maybe in this
3 a week,
maybe in this current climate with the smoke and everything, it's going to add up a little bit differently. But if you live in a pretty clean air area, I can't imagine it's that much, you know? And it's always funny to me because like tobacco was used indigenously. It was never meant to be like chain smoked. But when you talk to indigenous tribes before Europeans showed up, like they're like, what killed you? Like a bear, you know? And like then it's like Westerners showed up, diabetes, cancer. Yeah, you know, it's like, what happened? Excess. Yeah, you know. Like.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, it is exactly right. And like the idea that people were dying of loneliness in the 1700s would be incomprehensible.
But you know, it's also funny. My mentor used to tell this story, and this kind of relates to this too. Like in the Aboriginal tribes, so he lived in Australia for a while, and like the worst punishment, if you did something wrong against the tribe, you were banished, and they knew within a year you'd be dead. Like it wasn't even like hey, you're gonna find a snake and it's gonna bite you and you're gonna die, or you're gonna starve to death. They were like, no, you're no longer part of our community.
Sure.
Like you're not part of us. And that alone was enough to kind of like put the nails in the coffin, as they say.
Right. And you're done after that, right? Like you like, to your point. I mean, like blue zones, right? Time and time again, they're like, oh, what did these people eat who lived to 100? Fucking had nothing to do with it. I mean,
it had nothing to do with that, you know?
It's not about food, man. It's about community. Like it's right. So
do you have purpose? Do you have connection? You know?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I think when we're looking at these problems, like we're normalizing behavior that would previously, and even today, if you think about it logically, wouldn't have and does not make sense, right? Like it doesn't make sense to be a human being alive and not see other human beings. Like now, I know it's still on the phone, but a couple of weeks ago, I'm brand new to this habit, but I'm like, you know, at least once a week, I want to have a half-hour conversation with somebody I haven't talked to in 6 months.
Oh, that's great, man.
And just be like, look, I had a call yesterday with this dude that I have known forever. Don't even know how I know him. Not even sure we even worked together. I think we tried to once, and I'm not even sure. But guy's become like a dude that I check in with once every other year. And now I'm like, you know what? This is a dude who I should talk to. He's got a retreat being built, a high-end retreat in upstate New York.
Wow.
And he's building it himself. It's his like passion project. He's got a business partner. They're doing it. I'm like, dude, I totally want to have like a retreat now at your spot, but I need you there. Like, let's do something where you're
part of
there.
It. Yeah.
And he's like, I mean, we're just starting. Our first event isn't until September. I'm like, it's fucking great. But see, like I would never have had that conversation or even be able to like ideate around that without again, taking the bull by the horns. Yeah. And just being like, the way to fix this is to force yourself to do shit you wouldn't have normally done. If I was an alcoholic, I would pour another drink every hour. If I want to stop that, I got to just interrupt that.
Modify the behavior.
Correct. Yeah. Like I got to not do that. If I'm getting lonely, I would consider it a medical emergency if somebody found me on my social media. Like,
it's funny. It's funny because it's with social media, right? We're kind of dancing around this. There is a connection, but it's not the same as a person to person, right? We have all these like para relationships with celebrities, and you're looking at people's highlight reels that are so altered, right? We talk about body dysmorphia a lot, but at the same time, is there kind of like a social dysmorphia? You know, like, are you not? You're not the person in your Instagram feed. You know, like that's the highlight. That's the one picture where you're like, everybody better fucking smile. Because I want them to know we had a good time on this trip.
I mean, when when your kids were younger, I mean, you were just like me. You were like, you know, for every picture of my family of us smiling, there was 15 other ones where I'm like, get your fucking picture together, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
you know,
like I just need to do this.
Totally. Right. Like, and that's not even if I didn't post it, because I kind of stopped posting a number of years ago, but here's the thing, like I still want a good picture for me. So when my photo comes up and says, hey, remember a year ago when Apple Photos is like, oh, this day a year ago, and I see a picture of us somewhere or doing something, I'm like, I want to know that. Now I have like a photograph memory. Like I can tell you almost without fail the circumstances around better
Most
than
of those
90% of the
photos.
photos that I take.
That's great, man.
And so which is why I like photos. But like I can say, oh yeah, this was on a pier and it was blowing wind and sand got in my daughter's face and she cried for 20 minutes. And I was like, I need you for 30 seconds to get your shit together and take a picture. Like I need, like, you know.
It's like the most compassionate person. You're like, no, we're just taking this fucking photo.
No, everybody loses compassion around photography. Don't be crazy. Like there's no such thing as compassion in photography. You know, you're like, you ever seen a professional photographer? They like contort your body into almost unrecognizable forms. Just
that's always, but even that in itself is an art. You know, it's like, how did you know if I tilted my head at that angle? You wouldn't notice my lazy eye.
Like, there's nothing compassionate about photography. It's 100% calculated, objective, and like there is a right answer and a wrong answer, right? Like if you tilt your head this way, you'll look fat. If you tilt it this way, you won't. Like period, end of story. Like that's not, you know. So take your chubby face and turn it that way.
Do what I said now,
right?
And we can get to the next thing.
Right, exactly. And it sounds stupid, but like I was second shooter for a wedding photographer once, and that's literally how they do it. Like it was basically like, no, we know this shot works. We know you're going to want to see this in your wedding album, so fucking shut your face and do this thing.
Well, you know what's so funny? Like we're talking about this now. I didn't watch the third season of Ted Lasso, and my wife's like, "All right, I'll watch it with you." So we went through the first season. And there's Keely is the celebrity or like, B-list celebrity or whatever she is. Yeah. And she goes up to the owner of the team and she's like, no, put your hand on your hip, turn your head this way, kick this foot out.
Yeah.
And then the next day in the paper, they're like, this is the best photo I've ever had of me. So yeah, it's absolutely like a formula.
And like the formula for anything, when you break it down, and this is what people don't do about any problem, right? Nobody breaks it down and says, this is a problem because these are the steps that move the needle away from that problem. And here's the steps I'm going to take to move away from the problem. And
I believe that is what you're trying to do with the loneliness, right? I'm going to one time a week, call somebody I haven't spoken to in a while and talk to them for 30 minutes.
It's a small step, but it takes an act of volition. Just like it takes an act of volition when I'm 5 gins in to not go buy a pack of cigarettes. Like,
but that's the same thing with all behaviors, right? Like, I know that if I don't get up and meditate, I'm losing that day.
Sure. No.
I know if I don't get up and go to the gym on that Tuesday, the next Tuesday, I might be less likely to want to go. And it's come on, man. You only have a couple of days a week. You're hitting the gym. You got to stick to them.
Yeah. And that's absolutely right. I mean, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, like, could you get through a day without meditating? I'd have been like, sure, I can get through every day without meditating. What are you fucking?
It's pretty easy not doing a thing.
Yeah, sure. I could not do this all day.
I could not do anything all the time.
Yeah. But you're right. Now, if I don't meditate, like I didn't today, and I noticed I had it wasn't right. Like, And I definitely try not to skip a day of meditation on a day where we're doing recording, because it's like you want to be
a little bit more in. Yeah.
Correct. You just want to be present. You want to be like linked into the flow. And like I feel like not doing these sort of things kind of makes you less connected to the flow. Right. And when that happens, you're just not connected. And the only way to reset that is to go to sleep and start over.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned flow there, because like, people ask like, how long have you gone? And it's like, it's 1,640 days today or something, crazy, and it's like, well, what does it do for you? And it's like, well, at first it pissed me off. Right. It's like, it was just frustrating. And now it's like, God, if I didn't do enough time, or if I changed the routine a little bit, the rest of the day is a little different, and I can't quantify that quite yet. But it's
that is quantifying it. Yeah, you are quantifying in the sense it's like you can't.
Well, I think I'm saying more qualitative. Like there's something off,
Right. No, I hear you. All right. Well, anyway, it's funny. We can go on and on, but I mean, for me, I thought the interesting part about this article was that it's fundamentally not different than anything else we've ever talked about, right? You want to lose weight, you want to, have healthy.
You want to live a long life. Yeah.
You want to live a long life. All of it comes down to the same thing. It's a fucking active volition, and active volition. It's like, it's a nonstop loop.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? It's all practice.
Yeah.
It's all practice.
And the thing about it, again, though, like, I think it's funny. And I think this is the part where why I wanted to talk this out is we still normalize breaking that knowledge when it suits us. Cigarettes are bad. So it's okay to choose not to do that.
Yeah.
Loneliness is irrationally linked to social media. There's no possible way. Yet you're wrong.
There you are.
And you just don't want to hear it, because that would mean you'd have to stop doom scrolling your fucking Instagram feed.
You would have to change how things happen.
Anyway, I could go on all day. What are you up to outside of this?
Look, man, I gotta say, Matt, I've been talking about this fucking cupping book. I got the final, like, hey, once you put these corrections in, we're not changing the text anymore. Ooh, and it is lit a fire under me. And I had my first, and you're gonna think this is nuts, I had my first all hands meeting at my office since COVID. Because, like, hey, here's 10 things that are happening, and this book's about to drop. And it's funny, like, we've been talking about loneliness and the habit forming. The same thing happens when you find opportunities, right? So I had my all hands meeting. I said, here's what's going on. Here's all these amazing things. And I don't want to talk about too many of them yet because they're still in the works. And then that evening I got home and I went, holy shit, this guy wants me to open an office here. A friend of mine sent me a possible grant opportunity that's like, this is in my wheelhouse. So it's those practicing those habits add up. And like now we're already planning a second, like the second all hands meeting.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, look, momentum begets momentum, right? Like you just keep getting better at it, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's meditation. That is interacting with other humans. What are you up to, man?
So I am on the outside of my nesting period, and I'm in the new space, and
nice.
Every weekend, sort of bring the thing a little closer. And I got to tell you, it's been very cool to be able to start from the ground up, because now you're like, you know what? I just recently moved where I meditate, because I'm like, you know what? I think it's going to be better over here. And I tried it, and it's like, I'm at a spot where nothing's like glued down yet or nailed to the wall, or everything's kind of just.
So you gotta figure that out now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like kind of doing everything. Like it's just a bunch of stuff that I'm like, and the stuff that I've already like implemented, like my standing desk, for example. Like I stopped doing the standing desk for a really long time because I had an undersized stand up for my desk, and it was crowded down and it wouldn't work. Now I redesigned the desk because I knew I was doing this project. I redesigned the desk to actually go up and down. I stand up like 3 or 4 times a day now, which I haven't done in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is great. Now I've got this like area in my room. I mean, I can move around. So like I find myself actually like changing it up a little bit. And to your point, that got me back into like, I'm like, all right, I got to go out and take one of these meetings walking. Like I don't need to take every meeting
standing right here or sitting right here. Yeah.
Standing or sitting in front of this stupid machine. So I'm trying to take one call a day where I'm walking around, and I'm like, some days I'm better than others, but basically waking up from the daydream that was this project and being like, hey, I got to get back to stuff. My big fun part is, and we should do a whole episode on it. If not, just have you over here and we can.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
But the gym is like my next frontier.
Like getting the office done and then moving into that, huh?
Yeah, because the gym is a blank canvas right now. I've got a box full of like mirrors. I've got pegboards. I've got the sauna I got to move over. I got the half rack to put back together, but I've also got like my red light panels that I'm moving down there. I'm moving down like the scales. I'm moving down, like I want to make
it a whole wellness space. Correct. Yeah, I get that.
Right. And so I'm like, and I've got all the ingredients. One thing I was actually really funny about moving spaces is you realize you have 4 things in this corner, 2 things in that corner, 8 things in this corner, 1 thing in that corner. And you're like, I got shit. I don't have enough to do a gym. And then you clean out and you consolidate. You're like, all right, as a gym box opens up, we're going to put it over here. Turns out like there was shit I forgot we had because it was buried. It was like something I'm like, dude, we actually have all the stuff that I really need. Like I could get fancy with it, but
well, but you lay it all out, you put it together, and then the next purchases are intentional, where it's like, now this sits right here, and I'm buying this specifically for this. Yeah.
But I do like the idea of having a gym. I think ultimately, speaking of that loneliness thing, I used to belong to the Y here, and I was like the mayor of that place. I would go to 2 cycling classes a week, 2 yoga classes a week. I'd swim 2 days a week. It was like, I'd rock climb, I'd do jiu-jitsu. I was there 7 days a week. And I knew all the instructors, I knew all the people, and it's really hard to be lonely when you're running in, working out with people 7 days a week. You know what I mean? So I kind of might want to join that back again, but I do think that there's those days where you're like, look, I just need to crank out some push-ups and a 20-minute
but light. But the option, I think that's my kettlebell club. I think that's it for me. I mean, the owner himself, it's funny when I first, started meeting some of the other people that were in the gym, they're like, so, which high school did you go to? And I'm like, I went to this one in Long Island. They're like, oh, you mean you're not from here? 20 of the gym members went to high school with the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys have known each other. They welcome you in with open arms, and you're like, wow, there's a real community here. It's kind of, it's nice.
Yeah, no, and I'm not from Baltimore either. And it's like this Baltimore boomerang thing that just, people come back here. Like they go.
Honestly, when we left New York, I took my wife on a fucking trip to the Inner Harbor, and she goes, yeah, this will work. Yeah. And I was like, hold on, you understand that this is not daily life in Baltimore. This is not it's not all water taxis and like the Galleria.
That's hilarious. Yeah, cool. Well, all right, man. Listen, good as always, and
man,
enjoy.
Yeah, you too.
Take care, brother.
All right, take it easy.
All right.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.